Hi everyone, let's talk liabilities, specifically current liabilities. Current liabilities are also referred to as short-term liabilities because their main criteria is that they're debt that is due in less than a year. So it's not necessarily, remember, that we owe someone cash, it's that we owe someone something. And we'll get there where you see that as an example that we don't always owe cash for something to be a current liability. Now, why do we separate that way, current versus long-term? Because remember things like the current ratio and whatnot, which we discussed in an earlier chapter, that we needed to know that we had enough short-term cash to pay off our short-term liabilities, right? So we kind of separate them that way. You saw that with a classified balance sheet, right? So a lot of these calculations are built on short-term and long-term debt and things like that, a lot of the ratios that you look at and financial analysts look at. So it is important that we do separate them this way. Now this is debt due in less than a year. So one of the most typical ones that you're going to see is an account payable. Remember, an account payable arises just from your regular day-to-day business. This is just someone sent you something, you bought something from somewhere and you now have to pay for it. Okay, so an account payable just arises as part of your normal everyday regular trade or business. Here's an example. You've got Dixie Corporation buys supplies on account of $1,000 with payment due in 30 days. So you see we've got our little T account here, and if you remember our liabilities, it increases with a credit and it decreases with a debit. Sorry, I said that wrong. All right, so Dixie Corporation buys supplies on account. So what did they get? They got supplies, right? So we have a debit to supplies for $1,000, and we owe them money. We owe them, when you see on account, you think it's either an account payable or an account receivable. In this case, we owe them money. So we are going to increase our liabilities with a credit to accounts payable. And that's it, right? That's just part of your normal everyday business transactions. All right. One of the things you haven't seen yet is you haven't seen sales taxes. So unfortunately, that's part of regular business, right? That we pay sales taxes on things. So here's an example for us. How do we treat sales taxes? What happens when the business collects sales taxes? All right, September sales for Dixie Company were $100,000. The company collected an additional 7% sales tax. The entry to record the month's sales is as follows, right? So we've got the collections are not just $100,000 for the sale, but we also have to collect 7% sales tax, which is $7,000. So the full amount of cash that the business is going to get, Dixie, is $107,000. All right, so our journal entry is going to be debit to cash for $107, but not all of that's ours, right? We record the sales revenue piece for the $100,000, that is our money, but that extra $7,000 is sales taxes. So we're going to take it in. Dixie's going to collect it, but it's not ours, so we record a liability. That liability is called sales taxes payable because it is due for us to turn around and pay to the state government. So that is our journal entry when we collect it. Now, when we actually have to remit the sales tax into the state, we then get rid of that liability, right? So the credit increased the liability of $7,000, and now we're going to turn around and pay that money in. We will then reduce that liability. So we will have a journal entry with a debit to sales taxes payable and a credit to cash. And that's it. All right, so just think about it like anybody, Target, wherever you go that you pay sales taxes on things, grocery store, they collect it, but it's a liability to them because they have it and they owe it out back to the state. All right, that's the whole conversation on sales taxes. Unearned revenue. Well, we know where unearned revenue comes from. We've been talking about unearned revenue almost since chapter 2 or 3. Unearned revenue means you owe someone something, right? You owe someone a service usually. So you collect the money in advance of performing the service. That's why unearned revenue falls into that short-term liability, because the idea is that you're going to perform the service usually in less than a year. And in addition to that, that's when I went back and I said short-term liabilities or liabilities in general mean you owe someone something. You don't owe anybody cash, you owe someone, in this case, a service. All right, so let's look at our example. It's December 1st, Dixie Corporation received a $3,000 advance for a 3-month service contract. Let's record it. So we get cash, we got $3,000, no disputing that. So we have a debit to cash for $3,000, but we owe someone a service. We owe them whatever it is that we do in Dixie Corporation. So we are going to have a credit to unearned revenue. That is a liability. We owe someone $3,000 worth of service. Now, if you think about it, you see unearned revenues all the time. Whenever you pay whenever you pay in advance of a service, if you wanted a new magazine subscription, if anybody even does that anymore, or any subscription, an online subscription to something, you pay in and then you have access for a month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever it is that you've paid for, but you pay first. So then that company who got your money, who got your cash, then has a liability on their books called unearned revenue. And until they start providing you that service, that subscription service, they have that liability to you. Okay? All right, so let's look at how this works. We record that $3,000 of unearned revenue here, and now it's December 31st. Okay, so it's December 1st we had that recorded at $3,000, but now their next entry is December 31st. And December 31st must be our year end, and we have to now record the fact that we have provided 1 month's worth of this service contract, right? Because it was 3 months. So if you collected $3,000, then how much did we earn in 1 month? Well, we earned $1,000, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to reduce the liability by that $1,000. We will debit our unearned revenue by $1,000, and we will credit service revenue for $1,000, because the idea is that this is a liability, the unearned revenue, but as soon as you earn it, right, as soon as you've done your job, you can credit the revenue piece for that $1,000 that you earned. No cash exchanges hands here. Cash only exchanged hands at the beginning. In this case, you're reducing the liability. There's our debit to unearned revenue here. And now that we have performed the service, we can record the revenue piece. And there you go, your credit to service revenue. And your unearned revenue account will have a balance of $2,000 in it for, January and February of next year, because this was December's, what you earned in December. And you would have the same entries at the end of January and at the end of February. All right, moving along. Let's talk short-term notes payable. Well, short-term notes don't come from a regular business, right? Accounts payable comes from regular business. Short-term notes payable is a little bit more involved, all right? It's a written promise to pay debt. So there's an interest rate associated with it, right? There's agreements, there's signatures. It's more involved. It's not just your regular, normal, buying and selling kind of debt. Okay, so looking at this, Dixie Corporation purchased merchandise, signing an $80,000 10% 90-day note. Now here's what we did here. Dixie Corporation took out debt to pay for the merchandise. Okay, so it's not like a note payable doesn't have to mean you get cash. It may be like, if we're Dixie Corporation, we're like, hey, we want your merchandise, but we can't afford $80,000 right now. How about we pay you in 3 months, 90 days, and we'll give you interest too. All right, so that's how that works. We're going to record the pieces of it, right? We've got a debit to inventory. We got $80,000 worth of inventory, and we have a note payable. The interest rate doesn't play in just yet. All right, so now let's say that we have a liability, and it's a note payable. Remember, notes can be short-term or long-term. It all depends on the time period. This is 90 days, so it's clearly short-term. So 90 days passes, it's July 18th, and we now have to pay that note. Well, let's calculate the interest piece. Remember, interest is principal times the interest rate times time. So the principal is $80,000, the interest rate is 10%, and the time, right, the time piece is the portion of the year, right? If it was 1 full year, it would just be times 1. But in this case, it's 90 days out of the 365 for the year. That comes out to $1,973 in interest. So not only does Dixie have to pay $80,000, they've got to pay $80,000 plus the $1,973. That is the maturity value. All right. So starting off with, the main piece is cash. We know cash. We owe Dixie owes $81,973. So that is the amount they have to pay, no question. And we have to reduce our note payable for $80,000 because we're now paying it off. And the other piece is interest expense. So be it, of $1,973. All right. Let's take it just a step further here. Let's say Dixie Corporation said borrowed cash, just straight cash from the bank, signing a $50,000 9% 3-month note. All right, well, here's what I'm looking at here. It's December 1st. I'm going to sign a 3-month note. We're going to cross over year end. We know that gets a little bit hairy. All right, so let's do the first thing. December 1st, let's record the entry. We've got cash. We're Dixie Corporation. We've debited our cash, and we credit our notes payable. Simple, right? $50,000. So here we are. It's December 1st, and we owe the money. I'm not sure that that's really 90 days. No, it's 3-month note. I was going to say, is that 90 days? But it's 3 months. So you get December, January, February. You're going to pay the money back on March 1st. Let's calculate the interest, though, because remember, we are crossing over year end. In this case, we're assuming that we have a calendar year end, so we have to record the interest, right? We borrowed this $50,000. We have to record the interest at the end of the year for the 1 month of interest that we borrowed. So it's principal times interest, but the time piece is only for that 1 month, as I said. So you're going to do times 1/12. So you get $375 of interest expense that has to be recorded in 2017. So we're going to record that debit to interest expense, but we're not paying it yet. We're not going to pay it until the $50,000 is due, right? We're not going to give them $375, randomly send them a $375 check. So instead, what we're going to set up for ourselves is interest payable. That is money that we owe. We owe $375 related to 2017. That is right. This is our year-end adjusting entry. Okay, taking a step further. Now it's March 1st. How do we record the note? Well, the entire amount of the interest, $50,000 times 9% times 3/12 is $1125. You trust me. The maturity value then is $51,125. So when I'm actually paying this thing, I've got a credit to cash of $51,125. And we've got to take the note off the books for $50,000. Now, how do we treat this $1125 of interest in here? Well, part of it is interest expense for this year, right? It's March 1st. So it's January and February, 2 months of interest. All right, so the 2018 interest, $50,000 times 9% times 2 months, because we have to capture this piece right here of interest expense. So we had interest expense in 2017 for 1 month. We have to capture 2 months in 2018. So times 2/12, that's $750. That is our interest expense, $750. All right. The matching principle says you have to record the expenses, right, in the appropriate periods against the related revenues. So that interest expense goes against any revenues you earned in January and February. All right, well, now I'm off, right? We're missing that $375 of interest. Well, that $375 of interest was from 2017's interest, so we will reduce that liability, that interest payable that we set up for ourselves. It was kind of like an IOU we set up for ourselves in 2017, and now we're paying off that $375. All right, it's about capturing the interest in the appropriate periods. Okay, see you in the next video.